All right. Hello, hello. Welcome to my Lunch and Learn, where each and every week we explore topics to help you elevate your mindset, be at your best, and radically expand your life and business. And today I'm going to talk to you about how you can spark more joy and more fulfillment in your life to the point where you may actually have moments in time that are so powerful, so electric that you feel completely alive. And these little moments stick with you forever. So if you've ever felt like life is good, but a little bit flat, maybe like you've settled, used to be really exciting, but you've gotten caught in the daily grind of just work, family, all the obligations, and you are looking for something to light you up. You just want to feel alive inside. Today is for you. So before we get into that, I want you to let me know where you're coming in from. And if you're tuning in by replay, type in replay in the chat. And if it's your first time, type in first time in the chat, because I thank you for being here. I truly appreciate you, and I truly appreciate your presence. Now, I know some of you know me, some of you don't. I'm Larisa McCooch. I am Canada's leading abundance mentor. And we work with professional women who have beautiful lives on the outside, but they're interested in personal growth and development because they know they can get even more out of these lives. And we help them bridge the gap between dreaming and creating all of these fantasies and actually doing things so that these fantasies can come alive and they can become real. Because when you can hold something in your mind, you can hold it in your hand, and it becomes magical when you get a life and business that you want and love. So I just want to share a little story about something that happened this week. So Megan works with me and she is absolutely amazing. And she had a birthday on Sunday, and I like treating her. I like getting her nice things, but I wasn't really sure what to get her. So Monday I messaged her and I had this thought during meditation. I'm like, okay, the gift had finally come to me. And I decided to go buy her an outfit. So I invited her to meet me at a boutique, and she tried on a few things, and she found a pair of pants. There were nice jeans and nice pants that she tried on, but she tried one pair and she's like, oh my God, I love these, love these. Her eyes lit up like a Christmas tree. I'm like, okay, well, those are going on the list. And then she tried a few other things, and she ended up finding 3 tops she liked and a dress that was way out of her comfort zone, but looked gorgeous on her and she absolutely needed. I thought she did. And so when it came to decide what she wanted to walk away with and how she wanted to what she wanted to purchase, she found what the jeans that she loved, and she picked one of the tops. And I said, well, do you like all 3 of them? She's like, well, yeah, let's go with this one. And I said, you should get all 3. And initially she just said, well, no, I couldn't do that. And I asked her, I had to pause, and I said, if there was no guilt, if you weren't looking at price tags, if you didn't think, oh my gosh, is it too much or too much to ask, would you want them? She finally admitted yes. And what was really beautiful about that is sometimes we create these stories in our head, but in that moment, she had a peak experience because she stepped out of her comfort zone and admitted something. Sure, she walked away with some nice stuff. She got the dress, she got the pants, she got all the tops, and she loved them. But sometimes to admit things like that to yourself is a big stretch. And the biggest part of this experience, what made it magical for her, is being willing to admit her truth. What made it magical for me was helping her cross the threshold and step out of the comfort zone, because I was probably just as enthusiastic, probably even more enthusiastic and excited about what she got than she was, because I know I've been in situations before where I've held back, where I've not actually admitted what I want, where I didn't go for the things that I knew would make me feel special and make me feel alive. And I stole some peak experiences for me and just felt bad, and I felt small in the long run. And so I've had personally countless of peak experiences in my life. I've had so many people and opportunities that have caused me to step way out of my comfort zone. And I didn't like it in the beginning. However, when I took the plunge, they made me feel more alive than I ever have before. And some of these things, these moments that help me stretch my comfort zone, They've been making some really big purchases for things I didn't necessarily need. Okay. Things that you need, they're different, but purchasing expensive purses that you don't need, purchasing clothes that you don't absolutely need, staying at ultra luxury resorts and villas beyond what I could have ever dreamt of or imagined growing up. Things that I used to see in movies and go, wow, that's cool for them, but not for me. I've performed in front of tens of thousands of people. I dropped out of school to pursue a dream I'd never even considered before, but someone presented to me. I'm like, how did this happen? And along the way, I met famous and powerful people, change makers. I've shaved my head. I've modeled and learned how to be on both sides of the camera. I've experienced global travel opportunities. I had the wedding of my dreams that has been shared by over 135,000 people on YouTube. And we've been aired on television. We've been published in books for the wedding. And I've just had so many beautiful blessings in my life. And I'm not saying this to brag. I'm just saying that when I look back, I think back to these moments, and it's not the whole thing. It's like a specific moment in each of these times that just lights me up like a Christmas tree. And these peak experiences left a mark in my life and left so many beautiful memories that I will truly cherish forever. And even though some of them were a really long time ago, some of them are more recent, these are so incredibly powerful. And when I think back to them, it's almost like it was just yesterday. And I can absolutely get just as enthusiastic about them today, perhaps even more enthusiastic than when they actually happened, because I realize how truly blessed I was. And so one of the things today's topic is how to spark more joy and fulfillment. And today, one very powerful method to do that is through peak experiences. And this is a term that's coined by psychologist Abraham Maslow to describe moments of this profound joy, elation, and a heightened sense of awareness. And these experiences, they're often characterized by feelings of transcending the self or experiencing a deep connection and feeling a sense of unity with something or someone greater than you. So some of the characteristics, again, are joy and ecstasy. You lose yourself. There's a loss of self. There is an enhanced awareness, meaning you're paying attention to yourself, to others, to the environment. You just have your spidey sense on. There's a sense of unity or deep connection to something or someone larger than you. Maybe it's nature or art or spirituality. And it has a lasting impact. These are deeply memorable moments that can create significant impact in your world and your worldview. And so Maslow, he believed that peak experiences, they're associated with self-actualization, which is the process of realizing one's fullest potential. And when we have these, or when we step into these peak experiences, they hold a key to an even more rich, even more fulfilling life. And they matter so much more than you think because they truly make you feel alive. They give you charge. They light you up like a Christmas tree. And so they aren't going to be the same for everyone. So my peak experiences, you could be right next to me and go through the exact same thing. It may not be a peak experience for you. Something that's a peak experience for you might not be a peak experience for me. So these peak experiences, they're very personalized, but some common areas and some common examples of where peak experiences can happen are, one, in artistic experiences where you just feel so deeply moved by music or art or creative expression. And one of the things that you may or may not know about me is I'm a swing and blues dancer. So I've practiced many forms of dance, but one of those was swing dance and blues dance. That was back in the Jives Alive 98 era. So when the big swing dance revolution came up. But I remember the first time I was doing a blues dance workshop, I remember I had a partner, and there was a couple of partners, they danced, but there was this one partner that whenever I danced with him, I was just like, oh my goodness, like you make me feel alive. We had this amazing connection. And no matter what song we danced to, it just, our bodies were in total sync. And it lit me up like a Christmas tree. And so for me, going to dance with that particular partner, others were fun and we had great dances, but that particular partner, we were connected on a different level. And our bodies would do all of these things that didn't happen with other partners. And so it was so much fun to connect to the music, to hear the music, to feel the music, to express the music in a radically different way than we ever had before. And so I still go back to the dance hall that we used to go to in order to dance, and I'm like, wow, like I felt alive, I felt capable. Athletic experiences, right? When you reach your peak, it for me, another athletic experience. I remember I used to be a dancer, and then I retired for a couple of years, and in my mid to late 20s, in my late 20s, I went back and I had started studying Pilates. And I had never been exceptionally flexible. I practiced a lot, so I was a good dancer. I wasn't like the best in the world. I was pretty good. But I remember I always had trouble during the warm up, to hold my leg up to 90 degrees. My hips would grab, my thighs would ache. And after studying Pilates and really learning about how the body worked, I was finally able. I remember one day I was doing our warm up and I was able to lift my leg up and stretch it out in front of me and hold it at 90 degrees. It might have even been a little higher than 90 degrees. And I remember this moment where I'm like, wow, I feel so strong. I feel so capable. I am not gripping, and this is easy. And in that moment, I was like, wow. And for the next week or two, I remember just everything I did felt so strong, and I was so capable in that phase of my life where I truly felt like I reached this like peak at level of athleticism in my life. And I never really felt like an athlete before. So it was in the dance setting, but I truly felt very strong and at ease in a way I'd never felt before. So that was a beautiful experience. Nature, right? When you're in nature, you might be awestruck by beautiful landscapes or these supernatural phenomenons. There was one time I was in Fiji, and we were driving down the road to Hana, and then we ended up stopping at a restaurant after dark. Long story, but anyway, we had to drive back in the dark. Road to Hana does not have street lights. It is this windy road on the side of a mountain. And my friend was driving. There were four of us. Okay, so two couples that went, and he stopped the car. We were all sleeping because it was pitch black and we were very tired from a day of travel. But he stopped the car and told us all to get out. And there was a viewing point on the hill. And in this area, there's no like, you fall off a mountain, no one's going to go searching for you. So you got to be careful not to fall off the mountains. There's no ambulances or anything that will go find you if you fall down the hill. And so he said, get out. There's no street lights. And so we're like holding on to the car, and he turned off the headlights of the car. And there were a couple of little lights down below at the bottom of the hill. And as we looked up, it was almost like the stars. You could reach out and touch them. I'd never experienced that before, to the point where you felt like you were literally standing among the stars. It was just this supernatural experience. Back then, I didn't care about nature. I was like, oh, nature, nice mountain. Oh, nature, nice volcano. Oh, nature, nice this. It didn't, at that point. Today, I look at nature and I find the beauty in it. Back then, I didn't appreciate it. But in that moment, that was probably one of the first times I felt surrounded by nature, and it was just so magical, so powerful, and I was in the state of awe. So another example can be religious experiences or spiritual experiences. And a few years ago, my mother had spent, I think, 2 or 3 years going to a weekly spiritual retreat, or a monthly spiritual retreat to connect to God and to connect to herself and her spirituality at a deeper level. And then one day, after all of this had ended, she was at my house, and she was just in a bit of a funky state. And so I guided her through a process that I do. I work with clients and I do breakthroughs, and there's not all processes that we do are appropriate for family, but this particular process on this particular day for this case was appropriate. And so I guided her through a process, and it was called core transformation. And what ended up happening after 20 minutes of guiding her through this experience, she had tears start streaming down her face. And she's like, when people talk about seeing God or seeing the light, or just like feeling it, she's like, I am there. I see it. I feel it. I sense it. She's like, I spent so much time looking for it. And right now I connected so deeply to myself that it's right here. And seeing her have that kind of experience was just such a blessing and so magical for me, but also for her to have that gift of experiencing that in the moment. And these are moments that I know I felt so blessed to be able to be a part of that, because it was so energetic and so deeply connected. There may be intimate moments. Okay, so intimate moments where you feel deep and profound connection to loved ones. And I often think of my son with these deep, intimate moments. There's others, but they're not appropriate. They're not appropriate for this talk. But with my son, we have this deep and intimate connection where he knows what I'm thinking, he knows what I'm feeling, and he has these deep insights that he can just say. And my son is 7 years old. To have a high level 3 intellectual conversation that's exciting and stimulating for me is not very, very common in my world. And I feel so blessed. There was a time, probably about 3-4 weeks ago, where he was going to bed, and before he went to bed, he asked me and just asked me a very different level of question. And in that moment, I could sense he was stepping into a different developmental phase. I was just in awe of the awareness that he had to answer this question. And for me, that's a peak experience, because I was in this moment of deep connection with him, and it was absolutely magical. The last way that it might show up, a peak experience might show up, is in achieving goals. Okay. Achieving rich and fulfilling goals. These are not just goals of any kind, but these are things that are deeply meaningful to you. And one of the things that my mentor, Bob Proctor, talked about is having a worthy goal. And he got that from Earl Nightingale. So really having that big, profound goal. One of the things he often used to say is, it's not about the goal, it's about who you become along the way. But he had a goal of having a company that operated all around the world. And he spent the majority of his career working towards it. So almost 40 years working towards this. And I remember there was a live event, and it was a live stream event. I think it was either during the pandemic or shortly after the pandemic, where they announced, we literally have someone in this room from every single country around the world. And that was such a profound moment, because along the way, it was a cool experience to achieve the goal, but it was also beautiful to see the series of everything that went into it, the journey along the way, and the vast impact he created worldwide on the way. And so again, I'm just going to review. Peak experiences can be artistic experiences, athletic experiences, experiences with nature, religious or spiritual experiences, intimate experiences, or even achieving goals. And however they happen, right? You probably will have all kinds of experiences, but they're not going to mean anything to you if you don't recognize them. So the key to having a peak experience is actually recognizing it when it shows up, and having a willingness to pay attention, and a willingness to play along, a willingness to acknowledge it. Because so often we're just so busy in our lives, we miss so many blessings, so many magical moments, whether they're big or small. They can happen on a daily basis, right? From like the little tiny conversation I had with my son that rocked my world because it was so exciting to me, to to these experiences where I was performing in front of thousands of people. Great. Doesn't make it better, doesn't make it worse, but you must give yourself the time to acknowledge your peak experiences, whatever they are. Not about comparison. It's about you knowing where you're at and staying in your lane and just saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. And how do you gain the courage? Because one of the things with peak experiences is sometimes they are scary. Sometimes they just happen and you can simply acknowledge them, but sometimes they're scary. They're opportunities for you to step out of your comfort zone. Well, the most magical experiences, the most serendipitous ones came when I stopped overthinking and just did it, where I was absolutely impulsive with my unconscious mind before my head had a chance to talk me out of it. I said yes. I said, let's do this. I said, let's make it happen. With my wedding, I was sitting, I was journaling, I was contemplating life. And then my husband and I, we decided not to get married when we first got together. We had both had previous marriages and we're like, we're good just being together. We don't need to get married to seal the deal or make it official. And so we were looking to start a family. We were cohabitating, we were living together and it was fine. But then I had a moment where I'm like, if I don't get married, if I don't actually make this real and commit to myself for myself, I actually don't think I'm going to have the family. And until that moment, I didn't have the commitment. And I'm like, I want to be with him for the rest of my life. So I hollered across the house and called him in and proposed to him. And I didn't overthink it. I could have gone through this whole thing to find the perfect proposal. But in that moment, I was so aligned and I said, let's get married. And 5 weeks later, we got married. A year and a half later, we had our son. And so when you seize the moments before overthinking, before planning, before trying to make it all perfect, make the decision, back it by action, and stop overthinking, because the right opportunities, the right peak experiences come up when you are aligned. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope this encourages you to go out and seek some new peak experiences and invite them in your life, whether they are serendipitous and just show up at your door, whether you have a little thought seed that's been planted and you've never had the guts to go for it and you just decide to say yes one day. But go for them, go for them, go for them. And if you'd like to start creating a picture of what some of these peak experiences that you might be seeking actually look like, a few times a year, we hold the Vision Expansion Experience. And this is an opportunity for you to create and elevate a vision of your most rich and fulfilling life. So we'll have one probably at the end of May. So at the end of April, end of May. I can't remember the date. We have it scheduled sometime in the future. I don't remember the dates off the top of my head, but when registration is open, if you want to attend, just mention Vision and we will let you know when registration opens up. You can get yourself on the wait list. And we do hold these several times throughout the year. But when you take the time to create a vision, to create something that's juicy, that's exciting, you may have the whole thing in one shot. It might take you a few times of coming back to it. But as you start dancing with the possibilities, as you start taking courageous action, giving yourself permission to invite and seek and accept these magical moments, you are going to have so much more joy and so much more fulfillment in your life like never, ever before. And so go invite yourself to have this peak experience, because it just might be the key to the life that you've been seeking. It might be the spark to the life you've been seeking. So mention Vision in the chat and my team or I will make sure to get you set up with the Vision Expansion Experience. Have yourself a great day and we'll be back again soon. Bye for now.